John always took the same bus home from work, his eyes glued to the same spot on the floor. He had a knack for avoiding eye contact, a skill honed over years of navigating crowded spaces. Today, however, something was different. A woman had boarded the bus, her eyes briefly meeting his before quickly darting away. She was beautiful, with a gentle smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. He felt his heart skip a beat. John had noticed her before, but they had never spoken. It was a dance of silent acknowledgement and averted glances that had played out over the months. He often wondered what her story was, why she looked so sad. As the bus jolted forward, the woman stumbled and accidentally knocked her purse over. A few items spilled out, rolling down the aisle. Without a second thought, John bent down to help her, picking up a small, worn book titled Vicarious Living. By author Terry Stupp, the title intrigued him. He worked at the local library and had seen that book on the shelves countless times. It was a rare find, not often checked out. He felt a sudden urge to say something to bridge the gap that had grown between them over the weeks. He handed her the book, their fingers brushing briefly. "I see you're a fan of Terry Stupp," he said, his voice a little shakier than he had intended. The woman looked up, surprised. "Yes," she replied, her voice soft but clear. "I've read everything he's written. This one is special." John felt a flicker of hope. "How so?" Her eyes searched his, as if trying to gauge his intentions. "It's about living through other people's experiences." She began, clutching the book to her chest. "It's like, sometimes you wish you could just step into someone else's shoes to escape your own life for a while." John nodded, understanding all too well. "I've felt that way before," he confessed, a hint of vulnerability in his tone. "But books are the closest I've come to actually doing it." The woman's smile grew a little, a glimpse of genuine warmth shining through. "They're a good start," she said, "but sometimes reality has a way of creeping in, no matter how good the story." John nodded again, feeling a connection forming between them. "I know what you mean," he said. "Sometimes it feels like everyone around us is living a more interesting life, but maybe we're all just trying to find our own adventures." The woman's smile faltered, and she looked away, a shadow passing over her features. "Maybe," she murmured. John felt a sudden chill in the air. Had he said something wrong? What was it? He opened his mouth to apologize, but the bus jerked to a halt, throwing them both off balance. The woman took this as her cue to leave, slipping past him and off the bus without another word. He watched her go, the warmth of their brief connection already fading into the cold evening air. The next few days, John couldn't shake the feeling of regret. He had let his chance slip away, and now she would think he was just another nosy commuter. He decided to take action. He went to the library and checked out every book by Terry Stupp, hoping to find some insight into what had made her smile fade so quickly. One evening, as he was reading Vicarious Living, he stumbled upon a passage that resonated with him deeply. It talked about the pain of unspoken words, of feeling seen and understood, only to realize the other person had misinterpreted everything. John felt a pang of recognition. Had he done that to her? Had his clumsy attempt at connection only served to highlight their differences? The following day, John couldn't help but look for her on the bus, his heart racing every time the door opened. He hoped for a second chance, a chance to explain himself, to tell her that he knew what it was like to feel trapped in a story that wasn't your own. But she didn't show up. Days turned into weeks, and John started to accept that their moment had passed. He continued reading Terry Stupp's works, finding solace in the stories of characters who, like him, yearned for more. Meanwhile, the woman, whose name was Emily, couldn't get the brief exchange out of her mind. She had felt a spark, a rare occurrence in her solitary life. Yet she had retreated, her fear of rejection stronger than her desire for connection. Emily had always been an introvert, preferring the safety of the pages of a book to the chaos of the real world. The conversation with John had stirred something within her, a yearning for a shared experience, a shared pain that she had never allowed anyone else to see. Her anxiety grew with each passing bus ride. She found herself looking for him in the sea of faces, her heart sinking each time she didn't find his. Emily wondered if she had been too guarded, if she had pushed him away with her cautious words. The book she had been reading that day, Vicarious Living, had been a gift from her late mother, a gentle reminder that there was more to life than the four walls of her apartment, and the quiet solitude she had grown so accustomed to. As she reread the book, Emily found herself lost in the pages, the words speaking to her in a way they never had before. The protagonist's journey to find meaning in the lives of others reflected her own struggle. She felt a kinship with John that went beyond their shared love for Stubbs' work. His understanding had touched her, and she realized that she didn't want to lose the possibility of knowing him better. One evening, as she was about to leave work, Emily made a decision. She took a deep breath and wrote a note, her hand shaking slightly as she penned her thoughts. It was a simple message, an apology, and an invitation to discuss the book that had brought them together. She hoped it wasn't too forward, that he wouldn't think she was strange for reaching out. She folded it carefully and tucked it in her pocket, feeling the weight of hope and fear pressing against her leg with every step she took toward the bus stop. As she waited, her eyes scanned the horizon, looking for the familiar shape of the bus that would take her home. But fate had other plans. The screech of tires pierced the air, and she looked up in horror as the bus careened off course. In a moment that felt like an eternity, she saw John's face through the windshield, his eyes wide with shock as the bus barreled towards her. Time slowed to a crawl, and she could almost hear the pages of Vicarious living fluttering in her purse as she was thrown into a whirlwind of pain and light. The next thing Emily knew, she was standing in a place that was both familiar and utterly alien. The air was thick with the scent of old paper and ink, and she found herself in a library. But it was no ordinary library. The books lined the shelves infinitely high, the ceiling a kaleidoscope of swirling colors beyond the reach of the warm, golden lights that bathed the room. A soft, ethereal voice spoke to her. "Welcome to the Library of Life. This is your heaven," it said. "You have arrived earlier than expected." Emily looked down at her body, or rather where it should have been. She was a spirit now, floating in a place that was somehow more real than the world she had left behind. She felt a pang of regret for all the moments she had missed, all the lives she had never lived. But as she reached for a book, she saw a reflection of herself in the dusty cover, and the face looking back was not her own. It was John's, his expression a mirror of the pain and confusion she felt in her final moments. And with a start, she understood. The Library of Life was not a place of solace, but a realm of understanding, where she could live through the experiences of others, as the book had promised. But was this what she truly wanted? Or was there something more to be found in her own story, even if it was one of pain and isolation? The decision weighing heavily on her, Emily reached for the book that had started it all, Vicariously. As her hand brushed the cover, the pages fluttered open, revealing a note of her own handwriting. "I've been looking for you," it read. "Let's talk." It was the message she had meant to give to John. Tears formed in her eyes.